Jeremy and the Sleagur by Will Reed. Chapter 3. Bravery. Miss Fairley fussed over a wad of papers, leafing through them furiously.
"Well done! I'm so pleased all of you want to be in our super play," she gushed,
some of the girls clapping excitedly.
"I can already tell it's going to be a stormer."
She handed out sheets and shuffled the children into line. The gleeful girls jostled and flapped pleasantly, plaiting each other's hair and singing movie songs. They seemed to naturally get along together, leaving him alone and awkward. He studied the sheet to take his mind off it, focusing on the lines decorated in bright pink highlighter. Cinderella's lines. His mouth dropped into an O of horror as he turned over the sheet to see if there was some blue highlighter somewhere for the boys' lines. The back was blank. The first girl flounced up onto the stage, pointing her sharp little chin down at Miss Fairley. Everything about her seemed a bit too tight, from her fashion magazine school dress to the superior smirk lifting the corners of her lips. Jeremy fiddled with the edge of the page, wondering what he could do. Was it too late to run back to class? Would anyone even notice him gone? Glancing at the girl performing on stage, taking in her girlish simpering, he imagined himself doing the same and cringed. He started to back away from the queue of girls, considering his options. He could get back to class and pretend he'd done the audition. But then Miss Fairley might tell his teacher the truth. No, maybe say that he'd been in the toilet? That seemed like a better idea. He pictured himself sitting back at his desk in the classroom, safely away from this nightmare. Except when he thought about it, he couldn't help also wondering if he might be sitting there thinking the same old thoughts again. I've missed out on another school play. Maybe they'll make me a footman or a lamp-post again. That thought made his skin crawl. Having to wait another year before the next play, which might end up being another girls' play. He couldn't do that. This was the dream. His jaw clenched in determination, and his mind was made up. This time he would do it. Miss Fairley broke his thoughts when she clapped excitedly.
"Well done, Kirsty. Beautifully done. Next girl, please. Back into line, please, Jeremy."
Kirsty pranced down the stage stairs dramatically. As she turned, her perfect ponytail swept a tall, broad girl's face. Jeremy watched the girl grimace and glare after Kirsty. The queue of children dwindled until it was Jeremy's turn.
"Next girl, please,"
Miss Fairley said, peering down at her notes. Jeremy felt embarrassment burn his cheeks when he realised that he was being called a girl. Kirsty and a little gang of minions laughed and whispered, looking at Jeremy. He stomped onto the stage. The idea of pretending to be a girl seemed impossible. He'd been pirates, thieves, heroes, dragons, but this was scarier than any of them.
"Mr. Deerfield, could you step up to the mark, please?"
The teacher wrinkled her forehead, causing her garish orange specks to fall onto her nose.
"Thank you, Jeremy. Excellent. We're in desperate need of some boys in our play. Very good."
Jeremy silently read the lines one last time, committing them to memory, and began. Miss Fairley raised her eyebrows, eyes bulging in interest, as she watched Jeremy put the script down. Not many could read a script and memorize lines so fast. "Stop," Jeremy said earnestly to Miss Fairley, imagining her as Lady Tremaine. "What has this bitterness got you? Look around yourself. All of your selfishness and cruelty revealed. No friends. You show no love to your own children, only lessons on trickery." Jeremy turned and walked a few steps along the stage before facing Miss Fairley again. He rubbed his cheek as if in thought. "Many would send you away, or even put you in prison. However, despite all of the hate and torture that you've inflicted on me, I would still like you and my sisters to come to our wedding." Jeremy leant in forwards to towards Miss Fairley, gazing into her watery blue eyes. Lowering his voice, he said, "I can offer you my love. I hope you will accept it. My heart is mended. Maybe together we can fix yours." He stood straight again, returning to the black cross marked out on the floor, nervously swaying, awaiting his judgment. The teacher gaped at Jeremy, still clutching the overly large ruffles in her blouse. There was an awkward silence before the teacher erupted into applause.
"Where have you been hiding, Jeremy?" she said aghast. "That was tremendous."
Miss Fairley's eyes were almost popping out with excitement. Jeremy wondered if the reason she had 2 pairs of glasses was to hold them in her head. Kirsty folded her arms. Her face was red and blotchy, but the tall girl looked genuinely delighted for him, clapping enthusiastically. Jeremy was taken aback by the reaction, and he couldn't help the smile which pulled itself onto his face. He fumbled off the stage, cheeks flushing, nearly missing the last step. He'd done it. He felt sure he'd get a speaking part now. Miss Fairley was furiously scribbling in her notepad as he joined the other children. The tall one smiled at him.
"That was really cool," she said admiringly.
Kirsty stamped over.
"You shouldn't be here. This is a girls' play."
"That's rubbish, Kirsty. There's no such thing. I'm Helena," the tall girl said, reaching out a hand which Jeremy gratefully shook. Kirsty spun away, prancing off to a group of girls who threw him dirty glances. Miss Fairley snapped her notepad shut and stood up.
"Thank you all for coming. You were wonderful. I'll let each of you know by the end of the day which parts you've got."
After the children had been dismissed back to their classrooms, Miss Fairley sat on the stage, her brow furrowed in thought. She'd never seen a child with such raw talent before. Inwardly, she cursed herself that it had taken years before she'd spotted it.
"I must be losing my touch,"
she said aloud, pushing an arm of a pair of glasses into her mouth.